Welcome to part 2 of this tutorial series, and I'm going to show you how to create the database schema that is required for this project. Now, we're going to go and cover what a database is and how it works. Now, the database is split into 3 parts here. It has factories, which is generation of dummy information. We're not going to use that. Migration is actually what we're going to use. Each migration looks like this. It has a schema and it has a table. So essentially each migration you see over here is its own table. So this is a unique table that each migration represents. And also we see seeds here. Now seeds is something we're not going to use in this tutorial. But migrations are not just enough. You also need to create a model for those migrations. For example, if we take a look at the users table here, it has an ID, name, email verified at, password, remember token, and timestamps. And it also has a user model right over here. So the user model has quite a few arrays. For example, fillable, hidden, and casts. Now, if you read by the comments, those are attributes that are must assignable for the fillable, attributes that should be hidden for arrays that are password and remember token inside hidden array. And finally, you also have attributes that should be cast native types, which are email verified at. We're not going to concern ourselves with hidden and casts. We're also not going to talk a lot about fillable, but we're going to make use of fillable in order to populate our table. Now, in order to create a migration, what we have to do, well, by migration, once again, what I mean is a table. What we're going to do is write the command PHP artisan make model and the name of the model. So in our case, we can call them links. So our table is going to be called links, and we're also going to add a -m tag. Now let's break this apart. We're going to create a model that we see just right here, just like the user. We're going to name it links. And we're also going to create a migration that is linked to that model that we create. So let's take a look at what this is going to output. It's created a migration for us. It's created the links table migration. And if we go back here, we can see the create links table that has pre-populated its table with 2 pieces of information, with 2 columns actually, the big increments, which is an auto increment of integer numbers starting from 0, I believe. That belongs to the column called ID, and a column called timestamps that registers the timestamps at which any insertion to this table has been made for that particular entry. Now we also got a links model right over here, which is quite empty. Now, before we populate this, before we write any code for the protectable fillable, what we're going to do is go to the migration here, and we're going to create our columns for the table. Now, of course, we're going to keep the ID because we need an ID to be uniquely assigned to the entry, but we're also going to need a few more pieces of information that we need to store in our table. One of that is going to be the original link. So the original link, as we talked about for the bitly, is going to be the link that we copy paste from maybe BBC article like that. So this link here is going to be our original link. Now we're also going to need to store the shortened link that's going to be generated, although we're not generating it within this migration because that's not the point of migrations. We still need to store it, so we're going to create a new column called shorten link, actually short link. So this column is going to store the short link value, and this is pretty much it. This is all the information you need. This is the bare bones information you need to be able to store links that are shortened that point to the original link that has been shortened, that has been used for shortening. So this is our database schema. We have created this schema. Now let's go back to the links. I'm going to put it vertically right over here, and we're also going to create protected fillable. There we go. And we're also going to need to put inside here these 2 new columns that we have created. So it's called original link and it's called short link. Now that we created the migrations, what we need to do is actually configure our .env file. If you remember from the previous video, we were going to update this information here, which establishes the link to a MySQL database. Now, in order to establish that link, we first have to launch our MySQL database. For this part, I'm using XAMPP. You can download XAMPP if you wish to, or you can use the community MySQL server or any other sort of MySQL server instance or software that you want, pretty much. But I'm going to use XAMPP since I have it already here. I'm going to start the server, and the server typically runs at the port 3306. Now, from what I remember, my database name, I don't have one, so I'm just going to create one. So if you were to create a database, you'd essentially have to access your database and create it. So MySQL uroot. Oh, I don't have a password, so I'm going to just keep the password blank. So you go into your MySQL server, you connect to it, and you create database. You type the command create database, and in this case we can say URL shortener. And bingo, we create a database. We can see it by typing the command show databases. And there we go. We have it right here, URL shortener. Now the database is empty, it doesn't have any tables, but we don't care about that. Those tables are going to be created by Laravel itself once we run the following command. And the command we're going to run is PHP artisan migrate. Now before we do that, we of course have to update the database name, which is URL shortener. And now we can run the command. If we run the command, it creates all migrations for us. Now, if you want to see how this works and how it looks like in our database, we can go back to MySQL server and we can type use URL shortener just to select the database that we have created. That's the keyword, that's the command to use in order to use that database. And it says database changed. Now we are at the URL shortener database, and what we're going to do is type show tables. If we click show tables, you can see users, passwords, migrations, and links. This is what we care about. This is the migration we care about. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to type describe links, which is going to describe the type table, how it's structured. So we can see we have the ID here, and it's our primary key. We got the original link, we got the short link, and we also have the timestamps that are going to be created once entries are put into this table. So now you can have the visual feedback of how actually our database looks like, how our table looks like in this case. And this is important because this is what we're going to make use of, and this is how our links and where our links are going to be stored. Alright, so far we have installed Laravel, we have taken a look at what roots are, how the Blade View engine works, sort of. We just had a glimpse of it, and we have created our database schema, our database table for the links, and this is one of the most important parts of this tutorial. In the next part, we are going to get started with generating the links and inserting the links into the database. So I hope you're enjoying the tutorial so far. If you do so, please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.